Hello and welcome everyone to the 89th episode of Everyday Eternal. With me as usual tonight, my co-host Callum Smith, and we're going to come to you with a bunch of different topics tonight. Callum, how are you doing? How's it going, man?
I'm good. It's Monday and first day of work of the week is gone, so I'm feeling better already. I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Feeling good. You know, Germany has gone on like soft down. Yeah, I guess that's one of the light lockdown. And we're currently discussing going on a harder lockdown. But yeah, I'm spending most of my time at home. Trying out a couple of different steak recipes. Dude, I had no idea how much I was missing out on stuff.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I saw your picture of some crazy meal. I think you said we're going to make a channel in the Discord for like food porn and stuff. And,
everybody in Discord started posting their pictures, right? Tom posted something. It was like, that's cool.
I'm a vegetarian and have been almost my whole life, but I ate meat for about 2 years in my teenage years, and the only thing that I kind of miss from that is steak. It's pretty good.
I think I talked about it on my stream. For most of my life, I didn't really know what a steak was. Like, people say steak, and it's like, I guess, meat, but I didn't really know what it was until I went to the US in 2014. And maybe I talked about it, but one of my friends, he has a thing where he can't really eat many different things for like health reasons, but he can eat steak. So for like the almost 2 weeks we were there, we ate steak almost every other day or something, because we went to like all these different steak places and stuff. And that's when I really discovered what it means steak. Like, steak was something out of a Hollywood movie and stuff. And like, oh wow, you can like have your own steak and stuff, and even in Germany. But it sounds weird, but it's only then really fully understood it.
Well, there's lots of things people don't understand, like hash brownies and hash browns as well.
Oh, who would confuse those?
I have no idea. Just a funny thing I noticed people talking about.
The interesting thing is, do you think, because I thought there was the same, right? The interesting thing is, do you think they're the drug-induced, drug-filled things? Or do you think that they're like the breakfast food, and people who like consume drugs just randomly happen to want to eat hash browns? I guess that's what the non-drug one is.
Well, I don't actually know how hash browns got the name hash browns. I'm sure it's really, really quite obvious, but in England we have them quite a lot, so it's pretty obvious.
They're called hash browns in England as well?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know what they're called in German. Maybe somebody can help us out in the comments somewhere.
Yeah.
Or in the Discord, anyway. But yeah, other than that, been playing a bit of Legacy. Played in the Legacy Showcase Challenge, actually. Got the 10th place. I still don't remember how I did that, because I was... Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I was double queuing the... What's it called? Anorak Presents Team Lotus Box Dice City Games Invitational,
but anyone can enter, but awesome event. Yeah.
I was double queuing those, so I played something like, I don't even know, like 11, 12 rounds, probably more rounds of Swiss back to back, not even back to back, parallel. And the Dice City Games event didn't really go too well, so at the end of the Legacy Showcase Challenge, I was like, okay, whatever, I'm min cash, and then I'm like, oh, I'm 10th, I missed out on top 8 on Breakers. I literally I was just so wasted. I had no idea. I was almost gonna go to bed. Like, had I made top 8, maybe I would have missed that.
Yeah, I really can't double queue. So whenever someone says they did well in an event double queuing, it's impressive to me. I really struggle with it.
You played as well, right? Did you also play elves?
Yeah. So I played elves in that same event, and I also didn't do very well. So I didn't double queue, as you can guess. But we'll get on to one of the losses later, because it's really, really funny that we both lost to the same person with quite the deck. But
very funny.
The other matches I've actually forgotten already. But it was kind of like one of these win-win tournaments, because for us it started kind of in the early evening. So Mark, who eventually won it, he finished at like 3 a.m. in the morning. So it was kind of like, if you lose and burn out, then it's you just get to watch the rest of it and then go to sleep. If not, whatever.
It's funny you say 3 a.m. in the morning, because for us in Germany, it actually went a little bit later, and we were 1 hour ahead, right? So it was more like after 5 in the morning for him, and I think he had to work the next day, like the quote unquote the next day.
Yeah. But I played some other things. So I played in the... I think I mentioned it, but last time I played the Mana Traders, like not Swiss portion, the qualifying portion. I went like 8-2 before, and then I rattled off a 9-1 after that. So I was sitting at the top of the leaderboard for quite a while, and then Mr. Thomas Hepp, he absolutely loves being my arch nemesis. He just always has my number every time we play. He said he wasn't going to play, but because I'm at the top, he wanted to play. So then he went 18-2 for a 90% win rate. So he's in first place now. I think it ends tomorrow evening, or maybe actually tonight, like at 5 a.m. I think it was. So the prizes there are pretty good. So you get like 1K for first and $500 for second. So he's being mean and a bully. But that was fun playing elves in that. And
are you still sitting in second spot?
Yes. So there is another person, Andreas, I've forgotten his surname, is sitting in with the same score as me, but I have a better opponent match win percentage. So the onus is on him to play to try and pass me if he wants to. If he loses, obviously he drops down and like maybe get less money. But he might just decide to like play one match and hopefully win it at the last minute while I'm asleep, and then I might wake up tomorrow and see. But I'm going to leave it.
I'm not saying that he is going to do that. I'm like, definitely not. I don't even know him.
Yeah,
but
I would.
You could but you could also totally scam that, right? By basically having two people queue up at the same time at like a really weird time. And like I'm only mentioning that not because of him or that serious, but because somebody recently told me, and I can't really say anything who it was and who told me, but that everybody on. Okay, let's phrase it this way. I think most grinders were aware that under the old payout system in leagues that was more top heavy, if you had one account go 5-0 and the other account went 0-5, you were actually like winning quite a bit. Yeah. Because the payout was more top heavy. And so the way this worked is you take a really bad time for everyone in, North America, South America, like anywhere in the world. And then you also enter a league which almost like the fewest people playing in the league that used to be Vintage and Dual Commander when we still had Dual Commander leagues. I don't know, maybe we still do. And then you have Magic Online open on 2 instances and you queue up against each other and then you instantly scoop with one of them. And you do that all the time. So you end up having one account going 5-0 and 1-5. And if you're unlucky, you sometimes run to somebody else and you might have to win naturally, but it was insane plus EV. And that guy made $15,000 in a month and then called it quits because Wizards, how Wizards revolutionized, I guess, changed the league payout system to be a flatter payout.
I had no idea it was that much because I remember seeing posts on Twitter about it, like for Pauper as well. I think Kendra Smith posted about it a lot. Like there was just all these random accounts which no one had ever played against, and they were like the trophy leaders. And I was like, something is not right here at all. So I didn't realize it was making so much money though. That's crazy.
Yeah. It blew my mind. The guy told me about like some accounts, and I looked them up, and it's like 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0. Like, yeah, that's right.
They didn't even try and hide it. I remember seeing deck lists which were just like all basic commons and just all basic lands and stuff. Like it was so obvious. But
okay, the audacity in that is
yeah.
That's basically asking to be caught.
Yeah, it was quite funny, but yeah.
No, we do well with meme decks. We actually play for our wins, and so do other people in Legacy, especially with a deck that is kind of new. It's an interesting deck. We're talking about the MINOTAURS deck, because that deck actually has a really deep history in Legacy. It recently started doing well again, thanks to our friend Stefan Schütz, also known as MentalMisstep or Cedrus. Who basically kind of created it as part of a challenge by Anorak, right? Anorak told him, hey, I'm going to put you on coverage. And then Stefan was like, you know what? If you're going to tell me ahead of time that I'm going to be the round 1 feature match in this tournament, then I'm actually going to play a meme deck. And he worked on this Minotaur deck for actually quite a while, apparently. I thought he had just like put it together and
it was like two or 3 weeks. He was sending me screenshots as it went along and things. Like, I should have played it myself. I said that I would play it at the very beginning, like 2 weeks before the event, and then we were thinking to get other people on board. We thought Orim will probably want to play this, at least, and but then we just didn't follow through, and I registered with Elves before it was too late. So yeah, I mean, obviously it did better than me and you, so it's obviously better.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
So before we go into what this deck actually looks like right now, I want to quickly go over the history of what I want to call Thunderbluff 3.0, because that deck really, really goes back. So it takes you all the way back to 2006, only 2 years after the creation of the Legacy format, the way we know it today. And there was a thread on MTG The Source, and if you don't know, that used to be, isn't really anymore the place to be for Legacy, and it's a forum. And somebody came up with this meme deck list. They called it Thunderbluff. And it has like all Minotaurs, and it tried to be like a Minotaur beatdown deck. It had cards like, just to give you an idea of the power level of the deck, it had Telrum Piper, which is a 3/3 for 5 mana, and all creatures able to block it need to block it, so I guess it's like a taunting elf for 5 mana.
All creatures with the flying have to block it.
Oh, even worse. But I love the flavor of it. Like it plays the pipe, and then all the dragons come and try to block it. God, this card is horrible. But yeah, that's that's what you did in Thunderbluff. We had the Tyrum Champion. Tyrum really has a thing for Minotaurs, apparently. Mm-hmm. It's a 3/3 for 5 mana, once again. It has First Strike, and whenever it blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, that creature loses First Strike until end of turn.
That is serious. Like, yeah, okay, I got nothing. that's a serious ability. Like,
dude, that's basically what everybody says when they see the card for the first time. Actually, I got nothing.
Like, this completely destroys Thalia in combat. Like, not only is it a 3/3, but it takes away her First Strike as well. That's insane.
Because that's gonna make the difference.
Oh yeah, and it's a creature, so it doesn't get affected by her attacks. This is like the anti-Thalia card.
And you know, if you need that little extra punch, then we got you covered with Annabelle Spirit Crafter, 4 mana, 1/3. But Minotaur creatures you control get +1/+0, so it counts itself as well. So it's actually a 4 mana 2/3.
See, that's
all upsides here.
It's like onboard tricks. You know, people are going to attack him with their Thalia, and then it blocks it, and it's a 2/3 rather than a 1/3. Which,
and they don't see it, because they're used to the new template.
Exactly. Crazy.
Dude. But yeah, that's just like the first version of the deck. It came out in 2006. If you like your Legacy history, it is one of the biggest memes in Legacy history, kinda. And my favorite part about the deck is that they actually made up a card for it. So you didn't see it in the deck list, but then in the sideboarding guide and in the strategy section, people talked about Annabelle Grunt. And
I mean, this was the best card in the deck, wasn't it?
Yeah, people talked about how it's the best card in the deck, but then this matchup you would side it out because you didn't really want to do the combo with it, or like in one of the matchups they said, it's not that good against aggressive decks, and then in the other matchup they were like, it's not actually what you want to have against control, and then obviously you don't want it against combo. So the hilarious part is it was part of the deck tag of the primer. And for a while, nobody called it out, but everybody just played along and talked about Annabelle Grunt. And that card literally sounds like it should exist, right? Annabelle is always something about Minotaurs, and Grunt sounds like something that would work with Minotaurs. So
I think I remember someone making up a card, and it was like a ringleader. It was like a 4 mana 2/2 ETB. Look at the top 4, and you get all the Minotaurs in your hand.
You know, they should actually put it into play. That's what we would do today.
That would make it good then. So then you didgeridoo it in, and oh my god.
Yeah, and didgeridoo is actually the card that keeps all of those decks together. It was already present in Thunderbluff 1.0 as well as Thunderbluff 2.0, which is a deck that I don't know if Vince, our friend Pleasant Kenobi, made it, but he certainly popularized it, which was, I think, a mono-blue or blue-red combo deck that basically used Artificial Evolution to change creature types in Emrakul and Grizzlebrand to Minotaur, and put them into play using Didgeridoo. And for those who don't know what Didgeridoo does, it's an artifact from... Is it actually Homelands? Oh my god, that would be so bad.
It's Homelands, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my god, it's actually... We were playing Homelands Minotaur combo. Come on, man. It's 1 mana, and you can pay 3 mana to put any Minotaur from your hand into play. So for years, people were like, this is nearly broken. This is almost broken. We're almost there. And then, bam, Boros Battleshaper, Morok Fury of Akim, Sethran Hurlon General. And if you don't know anything about what those cards do, maybe, Callum, can you tell us a little bit about the cards that broke Legacy?
Yeah, so Boros Battleshaper, or is affectionately known by some as Boros Format Shaper, is 5/5 for 7 mana, for 5 and a red and a white. And it's Minotaur Soldier, so you can put it in with Didgeridoo, as you can guess. And at the beginning of each combat, so yours and your opponent's turn, up to 1 target creature attacks or blocks this combat if able, and up to 1 target creature can't attack or block this combat. So, I mean, the fact that you're doing it each combat on each turn for a creature to attack and block, you are completely dominating combat. So, I've seen some screenshots from Stefan of, like, beating Emrakuls and Marit Lages with this very easily. it does dominate combat, as I said. So it's a pretty funny one. So that was the first Minotaur that was kind of playable. And then recently in Jumpstart, we got Sethron Hurloon General, which is 5 mana, 3 in a red for 4/4. It's a legendary creature, Minotaur Warrior. When Sethron or another non-token Minotaur enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/3 red Minotaur creature token. And has an activated ability of 2 and a red or black hybrid. Minotaurs you control get +1/+1 and gain menace and haste until end of turn. So you can see the tricks on here. You have Sethron in play. Your opponent is like, okay, everything's okay. You've just got a 4/4, and then you attack in, and then you activate the Didgeridoo, and then you put in Boros Format Shaper, and then you make a 2/3 token, and then you spend your mana, and you've got like Soul Lands, obviously, and you pump the team, and it's just crazy.
So all of a sudden, that's like 13 points of damage with haste coming your opponent's way.
It's roughly 1 million. Like, you don't really add it up because they're Minotaurs, and they don't do that kind of thing, but it's pretty close to 1 million.
Minotaur math.
But what actually makes it closer to 1 billion is the new one from the latest set, Rise of Zendikar.
Dude, I don't even know how these set symbols work anymore. They look all the same to me.
Yeah, it's something of Zendikar Rising, I think. So Murug, Fury of Akum. That sounds like a word you'd say in Lord of the Rings. Akum. Anyway, it's 6 mana, 4 and a red for a 6/6 legendary creature, Minotaur Warrior as well. Each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time it was attacked this turn. I didn't even know it did that, actually, so this is news to me. And landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of that combat, untap all creatures you control. So this is where it gets crazy, because you remember we were making about 20,000 2/3 red Minotaur creature tokens with Sethron. Boros Battle Shaper is making all your opponent's Merit Lages not be able to block, and now we have Marug making you have like all the combat steps. Although the combat step, the landfall thing is really, really trolly because it's worded pretty terribly, I think. Do you know how it interacts with fetch lands? Do you want to explain that?
I'm not even sure, because we also got to talk about how both Murok, Fury of Arkham, and Boros Battle Shaper are actually bugged on Magic Online. So I can tell you how, like, I can semi-tell you how it works on Magic. Let me start with Boros Battle Shaper as we talk about issues. Or maybe maybe we actually just got with Murok because we were just about to explain this.
Okay.
So the way it works with fetch lands is you can put a fetch land into play on your second main phase. That's how I at least did it, because I streamed the deck. And then it basically, as you end your second main phase, it jumps you back to beginning of combat. And then you get to attack again. The thing is, technically, it doesn't give you a third main phase. So after that attack phase, it should put you to end step, which would mean you couldn't crack your fetch land anymore to get your third attack step.
Yeah.
So that would mean you would need to crack your fetch land before moving to your second. This is like fucking complicated.
So what you need to do is what you're getting to is you need to, if you have a fetch land with it, you need to play it on your second main phase and then crack it immediately on that second main phase before you go to another combat step, because then it triggers twice. You have 2 more combat steps. One is stacked, and then you go back, you attack again, and then you have the third one already saved, so you don't jump to your end step like you said. But what's even worse, so it's bad if you just crack it and then if you play it and then don't crack it straight away. But what's even worse, if you have it in play and then you play your land for your first attack in your first main phase, then it triggers, you get an additional attack phase, but that one happens before your normal one. So you go to your extra one. This is the one that untaps all your creatures, and then in your second normal attack phase, it doesn't untap your creatures. So you have another combat phase, but all your creatures are tapped from attacking the first time. So it's so weird and like convoluted for what they obviously just meant to like give you more attacks. So yeah, PSA, play your fetch land and crack it straight away on your second main phase. There we go.
I mean, Minotaurs are very mythical creatures. Nobody understands them. They're like sphinxes or something.
Yeah. They're better sphinxes, I think.
Yeah, and speaking of mythical creatures and bugs, so let me quickly get to the 2 bugs that exist for these 2 creatures in Magic Online right now. For Morok, we said that you don't get an extra main phase. You know, like, I guess a lot of people by intuition would think, oh, if I get an extra attack phase, I also get an extra main phase. You shouldn't, but on Magic Online you do. On Magic Online, okay. I made that stupid mistake where I didn't crack my fetch land right away, but I still got an extra main phase. So chat was like, oh, you've been saved by Magic Online, I guess. Maybe they're going to fix it if this deck starts to dominate. Maybe they don't, because honestly, it's probably just lazy programming. So instead of like adding an extra attack phase, they probably just like skip you back in the turn, because that's how...
It's probably how all the other cards work that do that, so...
Yeah. And for Boros Battle Shaper, it says that the creatures can't attack or block until they can't attack or block this combat, which means that once you go to your main phase, they can attack or block again. And then if there's another combat phase, those initial creatures that you'd selected to not attack or block, they could technically do it again unless you select them again. But Boros Battle Shaper basically says they can't do it for the entire turn. So once you do your second set of attacks, you can pick different creatures, and the ones you previously picked still can't attack up. This is incredibly complicated. Is this the most complicated deck in
I can't believe R&D didn't test this deck for Legacy. This is ridiculous. They didn't test Boros Battle Shaper and Murug.
I wonder if there were actually like things in Standard or Draft or something at the time, because it might have come up, but maybe people were just like, we just don't care. They don't pay us enough money to fix this.
Yeah, probably.
So... should we mention that we both lost to the mono-red aggro version of this deck, because the way that Stefan built this deck, and the deck list is going to be in the show notes, it's a Painter deck, right? There's two versions floating around. Maybe we quickly go about Painter. I guess there's not really too much to say about it. It's a Didgeridoo Minotaur Painter deck. It plays one Trinket Mage and a couple of cantrips, and of course Parablast and Red Elemental Blast in the main deck.
It's pretty much it. And so he's using like the soul lands as well, as they're good with Didgeridoo, obviously. His reasoning for the Painter half was not because he needed to like prop up anything especially. He said that the deck is just too easy to lose against control for like the meme to do well at all. So he said he needed to have main deck red blasts to deal with Oko and Uro. Otherwise, there's just no chance these cards are gonna get the job done. And so he just thought, all right, if I'm playing main deck red blasts, I might as well play Painter. And that's it. So it's it sounds simple, but it's quite a clever way of doing it when you notice how the meme loses so hard and then you fix it. So he said he hasn't lost to control, I think.
Yeah, I could see that. I actually streamed this and I started out 3-0. Like I really didn't expect that. And I think I played against like Snoko and some, rock mid-range stuff like Pokepile. So the Didgeridoo is strong, and especially because of Monarch, because it gives like +1/+0 to each creature for every time it has attacked this turn, which sounds so weird. I've killed on the third turn of this deck. Like you put Didgeridoo into play on the first turn, you get Monarch down on the end of your opponent's second turn, and then you just attack on your third turn 3 times. You attack for 7, 8, and 9.
That's crazy. It is pretty strong. Like it's a joke, but it definitely kills people. And Painter is a fast combo as well. Like it can kill turn 2. So
yeah, I've won with like both Minotaurs and Painter rather evenly, even though I only played 2 leagues thus far. They are on my YouTube right now, youtube.com/c/it's Julian23, and I wonder where this deck is gonna go, because it feels like, I mean, obviously it started out as a meme and then it actually did okay-ish recently. It feels like it's maybe 1 or 2 Minotaur synergies away from being super broken. Somebody else, I read their name is Dan Staub. Maybe somebody else tried to do that as well. At least that's the guy who managed to beat us in the NCD Invitational.
Yeah.
They played a Mono-Red, Punishing Fire. Did they even play Blood Moons? I don't even... Oh yeah, Blood Suns, okay.
Yeah.
And they played all the Minotaurs.
I got really crushed. Like, it was my first round, I believe. I think so. And then I was just joking with Stefan before the first round started. And then, like, you know how MTG Melee pops up? It like pops up with the deck list at the side. I just see Didgeridoo as the first thing that comes up. It's like, oh, I'm against Stefan. And then I see a different name. Like, what on earth is going on? This is ridiculous. And so game 1, I killed him on turn 2, which is like, okay, I just like used all my luck there. And then game 2 and 3 were like Chalice games. And then this is where the deck like could be elves rather than Stefan's deck, I think. He had Chalice, but he had the Punishing Fires to kill the shepherds that would get through the Chalice. And then I didn't really draw the decays. So yeah, I got like properly stompied out. But then the Minotaurs kill you so fast as well. So it doesn't give you like an extra couple of turns to try and draw out of it. I just died so fast.
Yeah, that's how it happened pretty much to me. I think I actually got blown out by Fury Confluence twice, and looking at the deck list, apparently it's a one-off. Hey.
Nice. I'm sure you deserved it for some reason.
Oh, definitely.
because you always draw your one of Progenitus, so you got to draw those one offs.
Yeah, I'm so lucky as well, right? But yeah, for that list, we're also going to link that in the show notes. That plays a couple more Minotaurs. They just like do damage, draw cards, add mana. And does anybody actually know what Afflict does? Because one of them has Afflict 3, and I actually couldn't remember what that ability is.
I think it is if you block this creature, you lose 3 life.
Something like that, right? It's something about combat, and when it doesn't deal damage, then it does deal damage.
Whenever a creature with this ability becomes blocked, a defending player loses life equal to the afflict value. So yeah, whenever it becomes blocked, you lose 3 life. But I do want to give like a proper shout out to Dan who played this, because I did chat like a tiny bit with him, and I just said, "Oh my god, I love your deck. This is crazy. You're playing it." And he said, "Yeah, I want to play the event just to support it and stuff, and I might as well do it with a fun deck at the same time." So I love that attitude, and it was really cool. Like, you just cannot be mad about losing to such awesome nonsense, and for like someone that's just really supporting and stuff as well. So love it. Don't change.
Can we also? You're giving a shout out to Dan. I want to give a shout out to Deathbellow Warcry. And if you know what this card does, you are really cool. Otherwise, everybody's listening to this podcast is cool. But Deathbellow Warcry, probably the best sorcery since Ponder or something. This is one of the future most defining cards of Legacy that's probably going to be banned. Thankfully, they costed it a little bit too high, so it's 5 colorless and 3 red for a total of 8.
Apparently, but in testing, this was 1 blue-green to cast.
So what it does, strap yourself in, search your library for up to 4 Minotaur creatures with different names, put them onto the battlefield, and shuffle your library. Like, what the fuck? This is tooth and nail for Minotaurs, like on steroids.
For 4 of them as well. Yeah. I had a little funny anecdote story. So Marcus, who, as we know, loves to play blue decks, he played against Dan in the same event as well. And he said it was like game 3, and Dan put Deathbellow Warcry on the stack, and Marcus just kind of paused. And he said he typed that, what does this do? I'm not sure if I should counter it or not. And then apparently Dan just laughed and said, "Look, it doesn't do anything. You can let it resolve. You're going to win anyway."
The thing is, like, the audacity to actually let that resolve, because you're like, what's the worst that could happen? Yeah. I actually want to find out.
I think he had a moat in play, so he's kind of cheating.
I mean, there must be Minotaurs who can't get past a moat, somebody who just shoots over the moat.
Annabelle Grunt just combos off against it.
Oh, Annabelle Grunt is the final answer to it. Yeah, that's like the best thing you can do.
Exactly, yeah.
So, going forward, should people buy Didgeridoo? Is that, like, how big of a thing is this deck gonna be?
I would say the deck is not going to be a thing, like, straight up honest. It's a really cool joke and stuff. But Didgeridoo already had a price based on, it's cool, it's really quirky. I think people do like play it sometimes in EDH decks with Minotaurs and things. The deck is not bad. It's like, it does powerful things and it's fun. So if you have some money and they're not too expensive now, I don't think the card will go down because of the quirky aspect, at least. Plus reserve list. I'm going to eat my own words in like 2 years here, but I'd be surprised if it actually like properly spikes and stays very expensive. But yeah, it's because it's not that much now. It's not a bad buy because it'll stay that, but I don't say it's going to like break the game anytime soon.
Yeah, so just to give you an idea how much it is right now, before the Minotaur week we had on Magic Online, it used to be around like 3 to 4 euros. Apparently, friends of mine who bought it earlier this year, they must have been in the know, I guess. They told me they bought it for like 1 or 2 euros. And now it's around 15 euros on Card Market. In the US, it's, I think, sold out at SCG and CFB between $14 and $21. But on TCG players, it's between $15 and $20, which for a reserved list card, I mean, that's what you would expect for an unplayable reserved list card. This is less than...
That is pretty cheap, actually.
Yeah, it is, because I was about to say, like, Didgeridoo isn't unplayable, right? It's playable in this, like, tier 3, maybe tier 2 deck, depending on what they print in the future. And I think, if anything, I mean, if you're the kind of guy who would like to play this deck, I mean, now's the time to get your playset, because, like Callum mentioned, it's probably not going down.
Yeah.
If anything, it's going up. We don't know how far up, but I wonder whether it's like a playable EDH general or EDH Minotaur away from being really broken. Because as Ben Bleiweiss of SCG always tells us, Legacy isn't the format that drives those reserved list prices up anymore. It's always EDH, and it has been for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. There is one more approach to this deck as well. I just remembered you can do the really cool thing with Arcane Adaptation and then play Goblin Lackey. So you Lackey into Arcane Adaptation, name Goblin, and then you can put Emrakul or Griselbrand in off Lackey. I just want to
because you changed the creature type of Didgeridoo or on Lackey. Okay, now I see. Okay, so you're basically using Lackey as additional copies of Didgeridoo because you either change the creature type on Didgeridoo or you change it on Lackey. And
yeah, I just needed to get that out there, that you can play like Goblin Matron for Emrakul and then put it in off Lackey. Next broken thing.
I mean, you're laughing now, but the next NCD Invitational is waiting for us.
I know what I'm doing.
That's going to be a thing. So in the second half of the podcast, we are going to talk about a couple of spoilers that are going to come up in Commander Legends. But before we go to that, I want to quickly talk a little bit about how Magic looks, or rather Legacy looks right now, because I'm under the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like there's like the top 5 decks in Legacy right now that are rather well established with regards to how often you see them do well in tournaments. And do you agree, or maybe you should just go? Yeah, okay, then let me just go over them really quickly.
Yeah.
I gave them affectionate nicknames. So the first one is the Fat Ninja Rug Delver, because it's not the lean tempo deck anymore that it used to be. The second one is the Bulldozer 5-color Snowco. The third one is the Lost Sun Death and Taxes, because it's back now. The fourth one, I actually wanted to come up with a better name. I called it the Chaotic Good Elves. That's a lame nickname.
There's no bias here at all, is there?
No, not at all. And the fifth one is the Wildcard Buck Hogak, because everybody's like, yeah, Hogak, yeah. And they're like, I have 4 ley lines, I hope it's good enough.
The deck always puts like 2 copies in top 8s, but also gets so much trash talk. So it's probably somewhere in the middle of both of what those things are saying. But I think this wild card could be anywhere. Like, I think Urza Echoes is very strong. I see you mentioned it as well. Like, Cloud Post decks have actually been doing very well recently. There was a couple of challenges. There was a weekend 1 or 2 weeks ago where like it top 8'd both and had 2 in one. It had a finals in one of them.
Oh, did you watch my stream earlier today?
I did not.
I played against Cloud Post like 3 times in a row.
Wow, really?
I guess, yeah. I guess that happens. I was even talking about to somebody like how I never faced Cloud Post, and then there's that. But yeah, you also mentioned Ursa Stompy. I also put Blue Red Delver down there because very recently in the most recent challenges, Blue Red Delver started doing well again. And I think Blue Green Omni is also good, not only because it just won the challenge. I've always had a feeling that deck is better than it's being represented in the metagame right now.
Kind of. I think it's not bad and it's very strong, obviously, but it's I'm not sure if it's actually better than Sneak and Show against a lot of the things. And Sneak and Show is not, like Orem has been talking about this for a long time. He's saying the deck is just like trying to masquerade as a control deck a bit too much, and that's how it can like have an okay matchup against Delver for that reason, but you lose against the other combo decks then a bit more than you want to. Whereas Sneak and Show with the fast mana, just like you have these insane draws of turn 2 show and tell a lot more consistently, or turn 1 sometimes. So I don't know, in my opinion actually Omni is built wrong these days. Like whenever I played it, I always played 2 or 3 Petals and 2 City of Traders, and I'm sure look at the list now, but I very rarely see them these days. So I can see 1 City of Traders and 0 Lotus Petals in this winning list, and it's very rare to see them now. And I think you really need to keep the fast mana aspect of it to some extent. There was a time where I was like playing some mix of Elvish Spirit Guides and Lotus Petals as well, but I really think you need to have this fast mana to be able to combo fast in the matchups you need that, or to get around soft counter magic from Delver and stuff, or to have Veil of Summer into show and tell and stuff. It's important to be able to do this on a relevant turn, and to play around Thalia better as well, like especially with Death and Taxes coming back. So
it's interesting you mentioned that, because my friend Marius Hausmann, who just built the deck, one of the first things he concluded and just told me the other day is that he also thinks the deck needs to play more City of Traders. He didn't really speak about Lotus Petals, but I mean that's the general strategic trend that you both mentioned. So there's probably something to it, I would think. Yeah,
definitely. I just, whenever I see, like, I like Coatl in the deck, and I think 2 or 3 is the right number. I don't like Sylvan Library in the main deck at the very least. It could be like a 1-of in the sideboard, but it just feels so against your normal plan. Like the deck is already using your life total as a resource. You're getting attacked down. You don't want to be paying life for cards. You want to pay mana, and then you just want more mana to be able to you cast your spells to build up to then combo off. Because once you combo off, there's very little that can stop you. So, yeah, I think people are kind of just going down this control axis too hard. I kind of like a couple of Uros in the sideboard because they're very effective against Delver. But when you start going Uro and Oko and Ice Fangs and you don't have the fast mana as well, you're just such a clunky deck. So,
eventually you're just like a worse version of 5-color Snowco that has a bunch of unplayable cards.
Kind of.
I think the big draw to Blue-Green Omni has always been, at least for me, that you get to play something like 3 Carpet of Flowers. Mm-hmm. And that really makes it so that it often feels like you have more show and tells in the deck, because it sounds funny, but if you play the deck, it actually comes up quite often that you literally just hardcast Griselbrand with like 2 Carpet of Flowers in play.
Yeah.
And
I love doing that.
then you don't even need that. And what I loved so much about playing the deck with Carpet of Flowers was that it just feels the Drawn from Dreams. I wanted to play like 2 or 3 copies of Drawn from Dreams, which is, for those who don't know, it's the fish through time, I call it. It's basically a 4-mana dig through time that is a sorcery, which is sometimes an issue, but with Carpet of Flowers, you can resolve it quite reliably, and it's something that your opponent must think twice about letting resolve or not, because it's only gonna make the problem even bigger for them if they're already behind.
Totally. I love this card, and I played 3, and I would play 3 now if I played it, and I can see 1 in this winning list. You can like affectionately call Carpet of Flowers plus Drawn from Dreams, it's like twin, like they go together. Carpet of Flowers is very good against the soft counter magic and get around like taxing hate bears and stuff like that, but you do need something extra, and the deck only plays the 4 show and tells and then 1 Eureka in this thing. So you do need a bit more action to be able to find the show and tell often. And with all Delver decks playing like a load of Pyroblasts and stuff as well, I think I just remember always being able to play the Drawn from Dreams, and if it resolves, then you find Veil of Summer and Force of Will or the show and tell you need. If it doesn't, then they're using a Pyroblast, which is not countering your show and tell. So I'm big on this. So I would recommend playing like 3 Drawn from Dreams and 3 Carpet of Flowers. And it's also just better when you have more cities and petals, because you do get the 2 cards back and you can power through your deck, and it digs really deep. So it's fine to just go land, city, Drawn from Dreams.
I just noticed it's interesting how much we speak about these decks, because the top 5 decks, they are rather set in stone-ish right now. Death and Taxes had that recent adaptation from, I think it was XJ Cloud with the Sky Noodle thing. What's it called?
It was
Yorion.
It was actually Luinil, who I think he actually got it from Michael Braverman originally, who won a challenge with it like 6 months at least ago. And then he tried it out again recently, and then I think he said he tried it because he wanted to just see if it's good. And then he just kept winning and winning and winning. And he was like, okay, this is actually really good. And then XJ adapted it and then wrote a very good guide about it. And so it's like
I still can't believe that that's a thing. I don't know. From the guy who got a lot of shit for playing 61 cards every once in a while, I'm not buying this 80 card mono white deck. Dude, sorry. I can't get behind that.
They put forward some good reasoning. So the main reasoning he said is because their best cards, which is Aetherval and Thalia probably, just aren't as good as they used to be. Aetherval was the lights out against control, but now everyone has Oko, and there's just more decays about. It's not as insane as it used to be, and even Delver has Oko for it if they need to. And Thalia is just like a lot of combat decks can go through it as well. They either go under it or whatever. That's one of the core reasons why they think it's good. And I think basically they're saying Yorion is better than having a more consistent Aethervals against control, which makes sense to me. So I don't know, they're having better results with it, so I think fair enough.
What does Yorion really do for you? I guess it blinks your Recruiters and your Stoneforge, and then your Flicker Wisps, which blink other stuff again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool, but
you just trade with these decks so much as well. It's just another really big has to be answered thing. Like you have to, there's 4 Recruiters in the deck, obviously, because you have to fill up 80 cards. So it's very likely you'll have just like a 1/1 Recruiter sitting around, or a Flicker Wisp or whatever. And then you have to either counter the Yorion, which is obviously going to be a Force of Will usually, unless you bought in Pyroblast against D&T. Or you have to kill the Recruiters, which then is like another 2-for-1 for you. So there's no real good way of answering Yorion unless you're already very far ahead.
Okay. I guess you also have Skyclave Apparition, which is another thing you can blink that does something. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're really saying I've got inevitability, and I'm happy if this game goes long, because I don't care about your Oko, Uro, because those are gonna get Skyclave. Well, I guess.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
Apparition is what made the Snow vs D&T matchup close, like probably quite even. It can go either way depending on how people build their decks. Like Spirit of the Labyrinth is a huge part of why it's good in the matchup as well. And I think Yorion, it's crazy to think that Snow was the deck that like people were saying killed D&T, and I think with Yorion builds they could definitely be slightly favored. I haven't played the matchup from either side, so I can't say with certainty, but I can definitely see on paper favoring D&T.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm still not super convinced about it, but I'm always happy when D&T is doing well. So, and no, that's not because I play primarily elves. It's just like I love that creature mid-range play style.
Yeah,
that's just what I want to see do well in Legacy, and that's just like such a big part of what Death and Taxes is all about. So, I wonder if this deck is going to continue seeing play, because it feels like, even though they play 80 cards, that density of hate bears that I actually care about has increased. I think I've lost to the deck twice or something ever since it was created. I guess it's not a big sample size, but I've been hard-locked by, I think it was like Canonist, Mother, Containment Priest, and Spirit of the Labyrinth. I think that's literally the hardlock against elves. Like you need something like Marsh Casualties to break out of that. It's hilarious.
I think I've played against it 4 or 5 times in my small playing of elves so far, and I haven't lost to it, but a lot of them were 2-1s, and I think I got like fairly lucky to win them, or I had very insane hands. The matchup does not feel as landslidey as people say or think, or I thought it was. Spirit is a huge piece of that puzzle, because you can like Containment Priest, but then they can still glimpse and find the natural creative hoofs and stuff. But if you're shutting that off and the National Order, then they can't really do much. That gives you all the time to get it online. And as you said, with Mother Runes, there's only 3 Abrupt Decays, or 4 sometimes. There's not a lot to get out of it, so yeah. Yeah,
that's why I always say that Ether Swan Canonist is the best hate bear they can have, because it shuts off Glimpse, but it also shuts off the draw engine with Visionary.
Absolutely.
And you either commit to drawing extra cards with Visionary, or you advance your board, which at some point will hopefully give you, a Cradle into Kraterhoof. But in order to make that more likely, you actually need to draw more cards. So, oh my god, Canonist makes it take forever. So, I want to go say the card can die in a fire, but it's actually one of my favorite sideboard cards in Legacy ever, because it at least used to be so effective against most combo decks.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore, especially with Doomsday in the format right now. Oh, by the way, we should have probably mentioned Doomsday somewhere. It's just doesn't really see enough play. I'm still super convinced that the deck is insanely good.
Same. I mean, so these 5 decks are, Rug Delver is still probably the king of the castle, and Snowco, Death and Taxes, and Elves are just behind. There are just a lot of tier 2 decks, it's cool. I think Legacy is pretty open. The problem people have is like how fun it is. Like people don't enjoy playing against Oko, and don't want to go too deep into that because it's been talked about quite a lot so far. But there are some not fun play patterns. But for having so many viable tier 2 decks, I think it's a fun format to play when you dodge the Oko matchups or whatever.
Yeah, it's not the favorite iteration of Legacy ever, but I'm having my fun playing it right now. So, by the way, somebody who's been having a lot of fun playing Legacy as well is our guest for the next episode. So this is already a small preview. We're going to have Mark Vogt, a good friend of mine. Mark's probably maybe the person I've known the longest ever since I started playing Legacy. I think that's
nice.
Like something like 15 years now. He goes by Baby online, and he's literally been winning almost everything over the last 1 or 2 months.
He's really, really good, isn't he?
Yeah.
Really, really good. I love watching his stream. He's super chill, but at the same time he's animated, so he really, really likes playing well and winning. He really looks at every turn, he processes everything, and you can see that he's super in tune with everything and a very sharp understanding, which it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone if they've watched him play as well. I mean, he won the last GP as well. He's just fantastic.
He won the GP, he won the NZD Lotus Box Dice City Games event, he won a challenge, and then I think he top 8'd another challenge, and yesterday he came 9th in the challenge. I don't want to, we're going to talk to Mark on the next episode, but I really want to say that I've met a lot of people, and I've played with a lot of people in Legacy, and he's easily one in the top 3 players I've ever met in Legacy with regards to play skill in Legacy. Maybe the best I've ever met. It's kind of hard to make the call the best, but he's incredibly good. And I'm actually really happy that more of the world is going to know about him now, because after winning a GP and all these events and destroying Magic Online, dude, I'm so looking forward to seeing Mark on the next cast. And by the way, if you guys want to submit questions, hit us up on Twitter at EternalMTG or join our Patreon to get into the Discord and ask questions there, because we are definitely going to have a ton of questions for Mark on the next episode.
Yep, definitely.
So, by the way, he's the last Miracle Man, I want to say. He's the last person playing a dedicated Miracle deck. I think he still plays like 2 or 3 Terminus, so I guess that counts. And yeah, it's the bound version, Splashing Red. So if you have any questions about that, I've seen Anurag try it a little bit, but I think he didn't like it too much. So Marcus also doesn't play it, and there's not really too many other people right now who'd even be interested in playing Miracles. I guess Min would be interested, but Min is more like a chess guy.
There's some dedicated people out there as well. There's a user in MTGO called Bruno. I've forgotten the second name. He always plays Miracles, and very often of the straight blue-white variety. So
straight up blue-white without red?
Maybe with red as well, but he forgoed green for a very long time. I think he's fallen that way as well recently as well, but there's definitely some real diehards out there, so shout out to them, because keep casting predicts. But yeah, no, Mark is really still, I mean, he's not playing it because he loves Miracles exactly. I think he does genuinely think it's good, and I think Terminus is at a point where being able to like support a couple in your deck is very strong, because the format is very creature heavy. We've got Delver, Death and Taxes, Elves, and Hogek as 4 of the 5 top decks you just mentioned. So
yeah, it's interesting. He actually cited out Terminus on a stream quite I think we're going to talk about that like more on the next cast, but I just want to mention how educational his stream is, for not only if you play Miracles, but also if you just want to understand the way he approaches the game and like what's going on a strategic level. Because I sometimes see him cite out Terminus in matchups, so I'm like, wait, you just cited out Terminus against Rock Delver? And he's like, yeah, they basically just want to have like one thing in play and ride that to victory. And I'd rather have, like more cheaper removal spells and counter spells than this clunky Terminus. And yeah, that's something we definitely want to talk about with him on the next cast. So definitely send us your audio questions that you have for Mark.
I might send some as well. I'm excited to learn from him.
You can ask them live on stream, actually.
That's true. Oh my God, yeah.
You're going to be starstruck. It's like, oh, Mr. Vogt, please don't terminate me.
He just terminates both of us and talks by himself for 2 hours.
Oh, okay. Who's going to edit the podcast then? Okay, so that's what we're going to have for next week. For this week, we want to go over the Commander Legends spoilers, because I think that's coming out really soon now, right? It's kind of hard to say when cards are really coming out with like all this delay in paper magic. So.
Yeah, I think it's this Friday. I think the card's going to be legal this weekend. So I'm not sure exactly which day, but it's soon, this week at the end of it, I think.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So we selected a couple of cards that we think might be legacy playable, that are going to see play, and some that are barely not going to see play as well. I think you did the extra work. You actually added a couple of meme cards as well.
No, they're busted, I promise you. Do not talk badly of my bro, Rockrak, son of Rock. What is it? Rockrak, son of Rocka. Yeah.
Yeah, I would never.
Good. You were talking about the other ones. Okay, good.
Yeah, let's start it off with, okay, I'm going to go with the first one here in our list. It's called Chesscar's Will. It's a sorcery for 2 colorless and a red, and you choose one. Technically, you could choose both if you have a commander, but we are lawless. We are anarchists. We don't have commanders in Legacy. So you can either add 1 red for each card in target opponent's hand to your mana pool, or you can exile the top 3 cards of your library, and you may play them this turn. So this is like, I think we've seen this before in similar red spells.
Active Impulse is the...
Exactly.
Yeah.
The kind of red draw spell that makes it so that you have to cast it right now. Obviously, it would be amazing if you could do both, right? Because then you get those extra cards.
Yeah, that'd be insane.
That's actually pretty insane commander now that I think about it.
Yeah. I just have to say, I really hate that they have this like commander text or partner on a lot of the cards if they're going to be legal in other formats. It's just very ugly to me. Like, it doesn't make me want to play with the cards in other formats where it's like just this irrelevant bit of text on the card. But anyway, small rant. Carry on.
No, I was going to hope that you would explain how this card is actually going to be broken, because I can see it being used, in something like not Delver, and something that, the first thing that comes to mind is Belcher.
Ruby Storm. Okay, my first one was Ruby Storm. Yeah. So yeah. Act and Impulse is one of the best like action cards in that deck. And the fact that this can be an Act and Impulse is probably what it's usually going to be, but a ritual against like a control opponent, or even just if you play it quickly, I think this is like a slam 4 of in Ruby Storm at least. Belcher, I think it's just a bit I don't know, it's a bit too clunky. For 3 mana, you could be adding like 3 or 4 mana very often, and then the Belcher can't take advantage of the XR3 cards thing. Like, it doesn't have enough mana, so.
So, well, I guess you if it's gonna be artifacts and stuff, then you can just like put them into play, like Lotus Pet. I guess it doesn't work on Spirit Guides, right?
Yeah,
Because
Spirit Guides,
the
and then you have like 2 mana rituals, you have like land grants and stuff.
So the reason I was thinking about Belcher is because you remember when we ran that challenge where everybody was playing Belcher and Orem was actually giving us the Belcher Bible, which had that 4 mana spell that added, was it like 7 mana or 5 mana?
It's Ironcrag Feet.
Exactly, and you can only play one more spell, which would be Belcher, and you kill them. Does it add 5 mana or does it add 7 mana? I don't remember.
It adds 7, which is perfect.
Oh, okay, then we don't need Cheska's Will anymore, because that's what I was thinking. For 3 mana, you get enough mana to play a Belcher and activate it, but if you already have that, well, it's 1 mana cheaper here, right?
It is. Yeah, I'm struggling to see it in Belcher, really. I think it's both effects are not quite good enough to do what Belcher needs, because it's kind of like just weak against hate. And
there's like very diminishing return on it, as like if the game goes late, as in like turn 2.
yeah. And like if your opponent knows you have this, they can very easily kind of just play stuff out of their hand, I think.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So not gonna see playing Belcher, but Ruby Storm is
Ruby
gonna
Storm
gear
very
up
good,
too.
I'm sure.
That's the next thing that's gonna take over Legacy after MINOTAURS.
Oh, this could be played in MINOTAURS. No.
I don't know about that. I think MINOTAURS is already broken the way it is. A card that might be broken or not is going to be Court of Grace. There's an actual entire cycle of cards. This one's the white one for 2 colorless and 2 white enchantment. When Court of Grace enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. But if you are the Monarch, you instead get a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying instead. So the play pattern of this is usually going to be, you run this out on your turn, you become the Monarch, and then you try to stay the Monarch for a turn somehow, which, white decks, white, blue decks, whatever you want to play this in, have ways to make this work. And then you untap, and then you should be in a really, really good position. Not only did you already draw your extra card, you also have a 4/4 white angel in play, and you're probably going to draw another card at the end of your next turn. I don't know how good this is gonna be. Something that actually excites me about it is that people I really trust on their card evaluations, which by the way includes Mark, so we're probably gonna learn more about this card in the next episode, is that he thinks this card is so broken that Wizards didn't even test it because there's no way this could have slipped through. And I mean, we know they don't test Legacy, but he says this is so obviously totally broken that he thinks Wizards like made a huge mistake on this one. And I'm not fully seeing that. How about you?
Yeah, I don't see fully broken, but I think it's really, really good. Tell me when I'm allowed to complain about the Monarch, because it's probably my least favorite thing in the format. I absolutely detest this mechanic because you can't interact with it.
You're from Britain and you don't like Monarchy?
Oh, absolutely not. Especially when it... why can't you just have a thing that kills the Monarch token? I absolutely hate it. But I'm going to save you all my absolute rant about Monarch because I'm sure I'll do it in other places. I cannot stand it. But this card is incredibly strong, I think, as well. I'm not quite there on this is obviously broken, but blue-white decks are going to very easily be able to I think 2 is about the number you'll play, maybe even just 1, but that doesn't mean it's not insanely strong because you're not playing a full play set, because it's not a card you want to have too many of. But it's very easy to just play a couple of Source of Plowshares, have a Force of Will or 2, and then it just pulls you ahead. You don't need to do anything else other than just keep pumping out angels. It's Moat has started to see a bit more play as well, so this is obviously fantastic with Moat because it will protect you from your opponent attacking you down to take the Monarch quite easily, and then you're creating flyers as long as you stay the Monarch. So it's a bit clunky if you're trying to play 2 4-mana white enchantments, but there's definitely a shell, like a blue-white shell with this, which is very strong. I mean, Mark's probably going to play 1 or 2 in Miracles as well, and it's very good with Icefang Coatl as well. It's bad against Coatl as well, which is kind of interesting, but yeah, I mean, you just want to suit up, turtle up, protect yourself, and then it just carries you home. So it's pretty oppressive.
Something I like about this one is something we also mentioned about Felidar Retreat. It can't be Pyroblasted, it can't be Abrupt Decayed.
Absolutely.
So,
well, none of the Monarch cards can really be Abrupt Decayed, because once you become the Monarch, you can't decay it because it's bullshit. But
wait, that's how it works?
Yeah. Like,
I guess the card of Cunning can be decayed.
Yeah, it can technically
then you still
decayed.
say the Monarch. You don't need the card anymore. Like, you're an absolute Monarch at that point. You don't
have
need
to Pyroblast it on the
servants.
stack. Yeah, so, I mean, we'll get on to the... Should we move on to the blue one? So the white one is...
Yeah.
So moving on to the blue one, it's a similar kind of idea. So it's 1 and 2 blue, so 3 mana total. Enchantment, when it ETBs, you become the Monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, any number of target player each mills 2 cards. If you're the Monarch, each of those player mills 10 cards instead. So to just finish our train of thought a second ago, this can be Pyroblasted and it can be Abrupt Decayed, but Abrupt Decay is pretty ineffective against it because you've already become the Monarch, you've got what you mostly wanted out of it. And Pyroblast, if it's resolved, is the same idea, but now this is going to completely play into the way you tried to play around Veil of Summer with Pyroblast against Oko and stuff, where you would usually let it resolve and then kill it so you can't Veil of Summer. And now there's this weird game where if you have a Veil of Summer and you play a Chord of Cunning and your opponent's like, oh, well, I have to counter this, and so Veil of Summers, they're going to protect it better. But the milling thing is pretty real. You can target either player, so you can mill yourself to find an Uro, which then helps you protect it further, pull you further ahead. And then in these control mirrors and stuff, if you have it, milling 10 and then into 20 cards is probably just going to win the game. Even though you'll mill over Uros for them, like being down 20 cards, the matchup very often comes down to like 15 cards anyway, because everything just trades with each other. So
yeah, I remember in these super long matches, well, they also happen with elves, right? And I often joke on my stream that if I had a brain freeze here for 15 cards, I think I would just like take this on decking. And this card of Cunning, like, unless they Pyroblast it, right? You mentioned that's really the only way they deal with it. And I guess if you get, but decaying this is so bad. So you're gonna be milled pretty quickly by this. And like you mentioned, you don't need to mill 40 or 50 cards. If you mill 20 cards, that's already plenty.
Yeah, I think so. It's gonna create really swingy games because it can obviously really backfire. The white one just has more tools to protect itself because in white you have Swords to Plowshares. These snow decks do play swords as well, and they do have more board presence. Yeah, I guess they're both similar. And at least 3 mana is just easy to get down and protect. Yeah, if you play one of these and then lose the Monarch quickly, it's going to be very hard to catch up again because it's such a powerful thing to be the Monarch. It's hard to keep up. So
this is just like another one of those cards that those non-blue mid-range decks, I'm thinking about the older ones among us might remember a deck called Maverick. Those are gonna hate those cards. Because if you don't steal the Monarchy back right away as they tapped a bunch of their mana, you're probably never gonna take it back as soon as they untap. And I just hate that. I don't know. I hope those are not gonna be as good as they look right now.
Yeah,
but
same.
both of them look pretty good right now. And
I think the main place we'll see Chord of Cunning is from Delver sideboards.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking as well.
Yeah. It's just an insanely good thing to bring in against like control, obviously, like snow and stuff. Again, it can really backfire if they like Coatl or Oko, like an Astrolabe to haste it, essentially. Like, can obviously backfire, but I think they're going to play a pretty good control game. Like, Delver can already semi-control snow with Clothis and Sylvan Library and stuff. Now with this in the equation as well, it's gonna be tough.
And maybe we're also gonna see it in the mill deck. I've been working with that with my friend here, Kevin, and I'm not gonna lie. Like, initially I thought, okay, mill that doesn't really work in Legacy, but then he sent me a couple of deck lists. We recently played it. We totally fucking annihilated Snowco. Like, not even fucking close. We played against Snowco, I think, and I think we played Lansdale. Yeah, Lansdale was the god. Dude, Lansdale. That was almost pathetic how much we crushed Lansdale.
You're playing
insane.
like 3 brain freezes against these control decks?
We played 4 brain freezes. We played 8 crabs. We played 4 of those rogue thingies that mill for 2 whenever a rogue comes into play, and then we play 4 bitter blossoms and stuff. Dude, we play everything. We play archive trap. That we could have milled them for 200 if we wanted.
That's crazy. I need to play this mill deck because it just sounds really fun.
Yeah, especially once you start focusing on the cheaper mill spells, because what I learned, okay, little bit of mill theory. What I learned is I want more but permanent stuff that mills, and not like expensive big mill spells because they usually trade really badly against Pyroblast, but a bunch of like 1-mana things. And now that we have 8 crabs, like if the crab is gonna end up milling 9 cards or something, that's already insane. That's one sixth of the deck almost. That's what I want, and that also makes it so that it's really awkward for the opponents to counter something, because usually there's a couple of things coming down, and then you get Visions of Beyond, which draws you 3 cards to reload. I can't wait to try out the Card of Cunning in that kind of deck.
I'm going to just add in one of the new cards, which is further down our list, but I'm going to throw it into the conversation here as our next one to talk about, and with Mill in mind. Croc the Thumbless. I just want to put this out there. So Croc the Thumbless is a 1 and a red for a 2/2 legendary creature, Goblin Wizard. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, return that spell to its owner's hand. If you win the flip, copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for that copy. What do you think of this with Archive Trap?
I cast this. Oh, you say you're milling. Oh my god. so you're basically doing this until you mill them twice. Basically,
you're going to always copy Archive Trap or traps in general. So I've got to give a shout out to my friend from London, Patrick, who is kind to MTG. He is obsessed with this card. He's always talking about it. I think he's donating it to Phil. Death and Taxes for the win, Phil. And he's going to probably submit Mill.
Mad Scientist Phil.
Yes, exactly. The Dean, as we affectionately call him. But Croc is a really cool card. We can talk about other uses and stuff, but I think it's a cool idea to put into Mill. You have a lot of cheap spells as well. You play cantrips and surgical as well. You're going to copy if you want to, and just free stuff. And you can play snuff outs and whatever.
Oh, playing this as 0 mana space, I didn't even think about that, because the one of the most common things that people talked about is pairing this with Dreaded Arcanist. So you get you play your turn 2 Dreaded Arcanist, and turn 3 you play this, and I don't know, then you have a cantrip, and then you either copy the cantrip basically, or you get to put it back into your hand, because I was actually mistaken on how this works initially. I thought that Dreaded Arcanist flashes it back, which would mean, you can never put it into your hand, not even if you remand it. But it doesn't flash it back, it just cast it for free, which is like
you cast it for free, and then if it would go into your graveyard, it exiles. But Croc says, nope, back to your hand with you.
Yeah. And like that's the big difference, right? If it was a flashback, then Karak wouldn't work, because that's like a part of the flashback thing. So that's something that people might be doing with it. Is there anything else you see them doing with it other than the Mill and the Dreaded Arcanist use?
It could be tried in Ruby Storm as well. Honestly, that deck gets so much mana that it's often not a bottleneck, and then you just you can either recast the action spells or get double of them. So maybe being weak to main deck removal is kind of bad, but I'll be first looking at the free spells. He also mentioned Summoning Trap. It's pretty fun with it. Just any free spells, as long as you can set things up.
So we are actually going to look into this for the mill deck, because the mill deck is already blue and black, and it needs a lot of basics because it usually can't afford to be wasted too much. But maybe there's a way to make this work. That actually is kind of exciting, not gonna lie. Double or nothing flavor text.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's pretty nice flavor text. So I had to throw that in there. Okay, then we can cover the third court quickly.
I think that's how people are gonna call it, the third court.
Yeah.
And then there's gonna be a pause of a second or two, because everybody knows this is probably not gonna be insane, but maybe I'm wrong on this. It's called Court of Bounty. 2 colorless and 2 green. Once again, when it comes into play, you become the Monarch. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if you are not the Monarch, you get to put a land on the battlefield. But if you are the Monarch, instead you may put a creature or a land from your hand onto the battlefield. So this is like a suspended show and tell, and you need to not be attacked for a turn for it to work. Is that the best way to describe it?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, green is good at bogging up the board at least. So you could play it in you played a green Stumpy deck recently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're playing these Shifting Ceratops and whatever other green idiots, then you could come up the board, and your opponent obviously hasn't got a Delver in play, or you have a Spider with Reach that blocks it, Arachnid, whatever, and then then you just start putting more huge green creatures into play. but I think it's not good either.
Honestly, the most important thing about this in a deck like that would probably be the Monarch. It's just so you can draw extra cards.
Yeah.
And I think at that, I'd rather have a Sylvan Library because the deck usually doesn't have a lot of slots in the spells in the 2 slot.
True.
Yeah, I was hoping you would have some mad scientist idea about that, but I think this card, no.
The best I can give you is Sylvan Plug.
Okay, I already deleted it. Moving on, there's another card here. I already had a small heart attack when I read the name and I saw the mana cost because it's Plague Reaver for 3, and we know nothing good can ever come of a card starting with Plague that has a mana cost of 3. It is a beast. It's a 6/5. Whoa. Okay. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice each other creature you control. So this is really only ever going to be the only thing that you have, right? If you want to play a 6/5 for 3 mana, this is the kind of drawback that you're going to have. But then, interestingly, the card also does something else. So that's the beatdown mode of the card, right? But now the actual use of the card, I would guess, is going to be the second ability. You can discard 2 cards and sacrifice it, and then you choose an opponent, and you return the card to the battlefield under that player's control at the beginning of their next end step. So upkeep. Oh yeah, upkeep makes it so much better. So the way this is gonna work is this is, I guess, a repeatable Wrath effect for the opponent, but they still get to keep their 6/5. How do you think this is gonna play out?
It's cool. Being a 3 mana 6/5 is, 3 mana in black is always like the magic number with Dark Ritual as well. I can kind of see this being played somewhere in Pox decks. Pox doesn't want to have one creature in play, so it's kind of awkward with that because of small Pox. But I don't know. I like the second ability as just an option to have, because having a 3 mana 6/5 is going to make your opponent have to deal with that. If they don't play easy removal for it, then they have to either extend to go around it or go taller somehow. And then when they extend into it further, then you can use the second ability. They do then have a 6/5, but hopefully in your black deck you have removal for that. I think it's probably not quite there. It's really a cool card, and I just don't see it being played in too much else.
I think there's just no real play pattern. It's one of those cards where you think, oh, this is gonna be good against creature decks. The thing is, I don't really see the play patterns where it really plays out like that, because you don't really stop them from, untapping with their creatures and doing something with their creatures. And then if they, start to plowshares it or get rid of it, then it didn't even do anything. So I almost want to think of it as a stompy card that's just going to be a 6/5 for 3. And then it has the second mode that can actually use to maybe get some extra value out of it. Otherwise,
yeah, I think
basically a better version of Phyrexian Negator, but it doesn't have trample.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. The play pattern's that's the best point you can make. I think I just don't see how this fits into Legacy. Is exactly that.
Disrespect to the Demon Stumpy deck. Actually, these days we call it a Curse Stumpy. Actually, maybe
True.
This is going to be easy playing Curse Stumpy. I don't
know.
I still don't know how Curse Stumpy actually, what the holes that you need to fix in the deck are.
I think
maybe it's the perfect deck.
Reaple Cheap, who's been playing the deck basically almost exclusively, has said he's 0-14 against control, and he beats everything else. So if it can beat Snow, that fixes it, but I don't think it does.
Yeah, I think this card adds nothing to that.
Yeah.
In speaking of interesting play patterns, the next card that we got coming up, that's probably one of the 2 cards that's made the biggest waves, I want to say, in the Legacy community when it was spoiled. And that's going to be Hull Breacher. For 2 colorless and a blue, it's going to be a Merfolk Pirate. That's amazing. It's a 3/2 with Flash. So that's already good. Mm-hmm. Those are decent stats for a creature. If an opponent would draw a card, except the first one they draw on each of their draw steps, instead you create a treasure token. Keyword being instead. So this card, I think this card is going to be good. I can't yet tell you how exactly it's going to be good. There's a couple of different ways you could make that work. But the thing that it's a 3 mana 2/3 with Flash that has a very relevant ability and can be played both in Stompy decks as well as, sideboard cards against half the format, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think this could be a thing in either blue. The problem with blue Stompy decks is we don't really have good blue Stompy decks in the format right now, right? There's just nothing.
Well, there's the Urza deck.
Oh, never mind. Eating my words.
Which does play Echo of Eons as well.
Yeah, I was just like thinking about, sea stompy and like attacking. No, we are way beyond attacking. We are in a post-combat environment these days, they say.
Well, I agree with you. I think the card is pretty strong. I think it was overhyped at least. Like I saw people saying they're going to quit the format because of this and stuff. Like it's
come on.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's overhyped, but I think it's a pretty strong card. I don't think it's actually that strong in the Stompy decks though, unless there's a way to make like Cavern of Souls work. So we know Merfolk is busted, and we know Pirates are busted. So maybe there is a really easy way to make Cavern work. But jokes aside, it's people are saying, oh yeah, you can replace Narset with this because the blue is hard. But Narset finds the LED and the Echo. I think that's really understated. So I think this card is just going to be good in control decks and just blue mid-range decks and stuff. I think that's where you're going to end up seeing it as like a 1 or 2 in them between the main deck and the sideboard. I'd be surprised if it makes its way, like it makes a Stompy deck actually good off the back of it.
Are there any other good Merfolks you could play? Like if you can make Cavern, I think.
Are there any other good Merfolks? There's a Lord of Atlantis, Curcatcher, Silvergill Adept. Anyway.
I was just wondering whether there's anything in the Stompy lists. Is the what's the girl who mills yourself and then you can play something from graveyard? Is she a Merfolk?
Oh yeah,
she's got a Merfolk vibe. Emry, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, you could definitely make an Emry Hullbreacher kind of shell. The awkward thing is, like, that's the only 2 Merfolks that spring to mind, and the other ones that they often have double blue in their casting costs, and like Stompy decks want the soul lands. There's always this like tension of you want all your threats to. At least this has the ability at casting costs of like 2 and a blue. You might just struggle with other stuff to fill that gap. I mean, the reason why Cavern is not like an auto slam, unless you find enough things that fit on the same creature type, is like the best example is in the Zerda decks. When I was like first trying to make it, I played 4 because, oh my god, Zerda, you just cast it through Cavern, you win the game. But when you have so many alternate game plans, so with this you would want to be playing like Khans, I guess, as well, and other stuff. When half of your threats can be countered by Force of Will and half can't, you really need to go full slog or not, because when you don't have the card that you can protect with Cavern of Souls is just like a colorless land and it gets wasteland and stuff. It's a very real downside. So I think you need to go full slog Caverns or none at all. And then when you go none at all, it kind of loses some power. Yeah.
I'm also not sure what you would actually end up cutting from the Ursa deck the way it's built right now. I think you would actually... I like the idea of Echo of Eons and the LEDs and that kind of stuff. I'm just not sure whether you would need to construct it in a different way. And I can only... Like it's... Time will tell, but I can only imagine worse versions just because Ursa is so good. Like the entire Ursa thing with all the artifacts and stuff, it's so good.
It is. I think there are enough cards to cut. You could probably put 3 or 4 of these in and cut 1 or 2 Narsets and like 1 or 2 Baubles. And then if you do have 4 Caverns in, at least you can either Cavern out Emry or this, or then you can name Human for Sai or Urza. Like, it's not bad when you're splitting them half and
nobody
half.
I think the thing is nobody ever counters Emry anyway.
Yeah. They do.
You're like, okay, they only got Emry. I'm going to keep my counter spell for Urza. That's usually how that plays out.
True. And at the end of the day, this is a creature that dies to Bolt, Red Blast, Push, and Decay.
Hashtag dies to removal.
It hashtag dies to every piece of removal in the format.
That's true. I think the appeal of it is the flash, right? They play a Brainstorm, you play this, and they're going to be screwed because they got to put 2 cards back. I think going forward, people need to be wary of this potentially coming out of your opponent's sideboard, even just, in fair creature decks. Like, I could totally see this like being a one-off in sideboard of something like Snowco, probably not, maybe even Diver because of the attacks, but I think Diver has better things to do.
Yeah.
But maybe Snowco.
I think it's like a one of main deck kind of card in Snowco Miracles. Even. Yeah. I think it's very good. I'm just saying I think it's not quite as good in the Stompy decks as it first appears. I think it's very good in fair decks though.
It has sweet artwork also.
Yeah, I love
it. That's a big thing.
Yeah, it's cool. And the flavor text is, I don't need a map to find riches. He knows where to find those brainstorms. Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to find riches if you're already rich.
Yeah, true.
Second card, that's actually the one that I've heard most people say they're gonna quit the format. Apparently a lot of people are gonna quit the format over spoilers.
Yeah.
That's Opposition Agent. It's a black card, so 2 colorless and a black, 3/2, flash. Actually seems to be a cycle now, I just realized. You control your opponents while they are searching their libraries. And the second part, while an opponent is searching their library, they exile each card they find. You may play those cards for as long as they remain exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast them. Okay, it sounds complicated, but I think it's actually pretty straightforward, right? Every time your opponent searches their library, you perform that search for them instead, so you can either like make them find nothing, unless they gotta find any card, but we don't really demonic tutor anymore in this format, or you can make them find something that you want, and then you cast that, or actually it says play, right? So you can also get their lands. So you can not only basically stifle a fetch land, you also get an extra land drop out of their deck.
Yeah.
Did I get it correctly? I actually struggled quite a bit with this card.
that makes sense to me. I think that's bang on. Yeah, this card is really strong. It's again, my gut says it's being a bit overhyped, as in the like people are hyping up so much that it's like, as you said, they want to quit the format and it's going to break the format and it's just like the best thing ever, blah blah. It's not that, I think, but it's still very, very strong. I think this is another card that the fair blue decks are going to want to play 1 or 2 copies of. It's hard to guess again because it does #die to removal, but flash does mitigate a lot of that and stuff. So it also just has a lot of splash damage where the Merfolk, the Hull Breacher, is obviously good against the blue decks, especially because you turn off draws and stuff. But here, this hits, as you said, fetch lands, but it's also hitting any other tutors against combo. Doomsday, it's pretty funny. Like you just win against Doomsday, right? And then, against...
it's interesting against Doomsday, you still have to find 5 cards.
Yeah.
Because, as I just was talking about, so if it doesn't ask for specific cards to be found, then you must find anything. But you just, like, find 5 unplayable cards, and then you win on the spot against Doomsday if they also have Doomsday with this in play.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's...
Because you have the 5 cards exiled for you, and then the rest of the library is just exiled. So they have nothing. It's pretty mean against Doomsday.
Oh god! I mean, it's also really good against elves. Like it shuts off natural order, it shuts off Greens and Senate, it shuts off fetch lands for Dryad Arbor.
Yeah.
I mean, given the normal shut off of a fetch land that you wish would happen on the first, second, or third turn, that's not really gonna happen all that often, right? But it's an upside that happens like going on from turn 3 or 4 forward, depending on whether you're on the play or the draw. And I guess there's going to be some weirdos who go like, oh, turn 1 fetch land, Dark Ritual Opposition Agent.
Yes.
Like, then you quit the format.
Yeah. I mean, that's a strong play. I'm not personally a fan of like that kind of cheesy kind of play in combo decks. But turning off fetch lands is a real thing. It's not like a one-time thing like Stifle. Once it's in play, it turns off all their fetch lands until they deal with it. So I wonder if we can... I mean... Human Rogue is a very relevant creature type as well. So I guess humans would probably play this. You can get it with the Recruiter of the Guard.
It's also shutting off the opponent's Recruiter of the Guard. Dude, this card's getting better and better.
Yeah. So
Dude,
this is probably the best card in the set, I guess.
Yeah, I think almost any deck that can play this probably wants to play it like as a one-off in the sideboard, unless it's like like with combo decks. I don't know. Like you mentioned, that's like the cheesy thing to do.
Yeah,
but almost any mid-range or control deck that has black, we don't really have... Do we have, like, black aggro decks? Not really, but any mid-range or control deck that's black...
I mean, I could honestly see this in, like, Grixis Delver. I could two of.
Main deck?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think so. Like, Delver always has these 2 to 3 threats that are above the 2 mana cost on the curve.
Yeah.
It's very strong. Like, attacking for 3 is fine as well. A flash, leave up your... whatever, your Pyroblast, Spell Pierces, whatever's. And the effect is just good against a lot of the format. Like, most things have fetches or some tutors of some kind. So we'll see. I'm still like, I think it's going to be like Hull Breacher. Both of them are going to end up just being good in the blue fair decks, mostly. But we'll see.
There's a pattern. Yeah, I don't want this card to be good, but I think it's going to be good. But I don't think it's going to be format ending good, but I hope I'm right on this.
It's probably very good in Maverick as well, actually, with all the dorks.
Oh, you get it out. You ramp it out turn 2, I guess.
Yeah. Like turn 2 is a pretty respectable time to get into play. because there's already playing black for like Plague Engineer and Kaya. So yeah, I can see it there.
I hate this card. I just hate all these
Time will tell.
Can't.
Yeah, I agree. I want to.
This is another one of those can't sets.
Yeah. Well, at least we only have, is it 2? Well, I guess the Monarch is like, you can't play.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Yeah. Okay.
Monarch is, you can't ascend to the monarchy, even though you might try.
Yeah, I want to be a Monarch.
Let's talk about a couple of worse cards. I think the rest of the cards on our list are not going to be very good.
Yeah.
The next one we got coming up, you will probably have to explain to me how this is actually going to be broken or not, because it's a weird one. Do you want to take it?
I'll take it. So Wheel of Misfortune is 3 mana, so 2 in a red, like Wheel of Fortune is usually. Sorcery. Each player secretly chooses a number 0 or greater. Then all players reveal those numbers simultaneously and determine the highest and lowest numbers revealed this way. Wheel of Misfortune deals damage equal to the highest number to each player who chose that number. Each player who didn't choose the lowest number discards their hand, then draws 7 cards. So in a 1v1 kind of game, you both choose a number. All right, choose a number, Julian.
Let's say we are in the mid game. You play this. We're both on 10 life. I will pick 6.
Okay. Let's say I picked 5. That means you take 6 damage and discard your hand and draw 7 cards. If I picked 7, that means I take 7 and discard my hand and draw 7 cards. And nothing happens to the other player. That's what I think it says. Yeah. So it's, I don't know, people hyped it up again. I really think this card is terrible, honestly. So
why is it on our list?
Hey, you put it there.
That's true.
No, it did get some hype, and like wheel effects can be powerful, but the thing is, it's not a consistent wheel effect. It doesn't wheel the opponent, which is sometimes good. I don't know. People have said in aggro decks you could see it. Like,
in Burn I could see this, but the thing is like, okay, here's the thing about Burn.
But 3 mana to wheel is just like, I don't know if it's that good.
So here's the thing about Burn. That's the kind of deck like Burn, maybe even like a creature heavy Burn version. I could see it in, or anything that's really aggressive. Maybe even like Blue-Red Diver. But for 3 mana, there's already a couple of options, and I think the most common one is Sulfuric Vortex, because that shuts off life gain, which is one of the most important things in Legacy right now.
Yeah.
And that's also much better in multiples, because like this one, there's diminishing returns on this. Like as your life total goes lower, and like as you want your cards to do something, you in a Burn deck you usually wouldn't resolve this more than once anyway before the game is decided. So I think, and also there's this new enchantment, right? The one where they take 5 damage if they cast a spell for free, and it also like keeps dealing them damage.
Yeah.
And I think all of those, it's something like Rolling
Vortex.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And I think all of those are better than Wheel of Misfortune. I've seen some combo builds of this float around, but they all didn't really work, at least the ones I saw on Reddit, or they were so complicated nobody's actually ever going to make them work in a tournament. So
yeah, the combo is like,
this card.
Is it Pact of Intervention, the White Pact?
There's a couple of different ones. I guess you could use the Pact. I guess
or
you
Soulfire Grandmaster.
That's the one that gives it lifelink, right?
Yeah. So you just choose a million, and then you gain.
But then I had chosen a billion. Like if you have Soulfire Grandmaster in play, oh no, I still can't choose a high number because then I die to it. That card is really fucked up, man.
Yeah.
Let's just call it bad. That's the podcast way of calling it bad.
The reason I think it's bad is because it's very easy to see what the ceiling is, and even if you do get to do what you want it to do most of the time, the fact is it's not going to do that a lot of the time as well, and that's just way too bad to have on a sorcery for 3 mana in the format.
I would consider it for 1 mana.
Yeah, well, 1 mana is super abusable then.
Dude, I'm going to be one of those, those wannabe CEO types that you run into at university when they study business administration and they smoke their cigars and wear their like way too expensive shirts, and they're like, yeah, make the deal 1 mana. It's going to be fine.
Yeah,
Nobody's going to pay for it. It's like, yeah, that's
it's like,
that's how I just imagined myself. Anyway.
Yeah, I could sell this house to anyone, I promise, and then you sell it for like half the price. See, I told you I could sell it to anyone. One of them.
And they don't even end up paying. That's how it works.
All right. I'll let you have the next one. It's your kind of shtick, this one.
I was just about to say that this is not going to be it, but yeah. We got Magus of the Order. I like that they continue that thing with the Maguses. That's just like an established thing in Legacy right now. It's 3/3 for 2 colorless and 2 green. So basically the same mana cost as a natural order. You can pay 1 green, tap it, sacrifice it, and another green creature. And then you get to search your library for a green creature and put it onto the battlefield. So the effect is straight up natural order, but you also have to sacrifice it. Actually, I just realized that because you have to sacrifice it and another creature. That's fine because natural order also goes to a graveyard. So it's always going to be a 2-for-1 against yourself, but you're going to get your progenitors or what have you.
Yeah.
This has just like Nick Fit written all over it, does it not?
Maybe, yeah. I could also kind of see this in these just like green stompy decks. Like they're always playing caverns and stuff.
Oh, you don't need to play it as a sorcery. Oh no, that's interesting. Okay, so if somebody was about to kill one of your creatures, then you can use this, and then it's gonna be like a straight up 1-for-1.
Yeah.
And then it's actually gonna be okay.
I mean, you still need to sacrifice it. So I don't think it's like the anti-removal kind of card because it's still a 1-shot. But I don't know. I could see this in just these like, as I said, stompy decks trying it out, but it's probably not very good.
Yeah, but the thing about stompy decks is always like when you tap your mana, like on a 2nd, 3rd, 4th turn, you really want impact.
Yeah.
And every time you do something that doesn't impact, that just like gives your opponent breathing room. Your opponent's like, oh, now I get to. It's like I'm not a good chess player, but it's like I'm not a good chess player like at all. But it's like if you start losing tempo and stuff, it's like the payoff is not that great because it's time they printed the 2020 Haze Progenitors or something because
Creative isn't enough.
Yeah, but this card, the best case is like you play it in Fs and then you send it for your natural order and then another turn. No, that's not happening.
No, it's not.
Sorry,
happening.
man.
You need to play with Coordinate Crossroads.
Yeah, that's the Nickford way of saying a card could be good in Fs. Like every time something comes up, people are like, "This is gonna be good in Fs. You just need to splash Concordant Crossroads, then it's gonna have haste." And like, let's not go there. We've been there like 20 years ago and it wasn't good.
Let's leave this up to Ryan Winged Hussar. He keeps playing Coordinate Crossroads decks. He calls them Allosaurus Shepherd Stompy decks. I think he does it
in Legacy or in Vintage.
I'm not sure. Both maybe. But he keeps playing Coordinate Crossroads with like what's the worm that's like 1 green? Whenever you gain life, put that many 1/1 counters on it. Voracious Worm? I'm not sure. Anyway, that is a card, I promise. And he's playing it with Allosaurus Riders, not Shepherds. But he has Shepherd as well. And then you just play Nourishing Shoal with the 15 mana worms, and so you put 15 counters on it and it has haste from the Crossroads. It's really good deck building, I promise.
So you're talking about Legacy or Vintage? That's insane.
It could be either. so maybe we see that there. Probably not.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. Sorry. I'm actually going to delete this from the thing. Okay.
It is deleted.
Moving on. We have Dargo the Shipwrecker. It's a pirate giant. I just love the flavor of the card. Yeah. It's a 6 colorless and a red 7/5 creature. And no, you would look at this and say, okay, this is like a straight up beta vanilla creature, right? It's 7 mana, it's 7/5, pirate giant, not playable, but whatever. But now, this pirate actually gets cheaper. Also, it has trample and partner. Fuck partner. We don't want partner. Your eyes are bleeding, I know.
Monarch partner.
As an additional cost to cast the spell, you may sacrifice any number of artifacts and or creatures. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each permanent sacrifice this way. And, here's the important part, it also costs 2 less to cast for each other artifact or creature you've sacrificed this turn. Callum, how do you break this?
Lotus Petal.
Lotus Petal is one of the things that comes to mind.
So
also the bobbles, right?
Yeah. So, let me just read it again.
Yeah, it's complicated.
So there's the thing. So you sacrifice Lotus Petal. So Lotus Petal essentially adds 3 mana to cast this, right?
Like Lotus, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Lotus Petal and the other baubles. Yeah, like you say, so you sacrifice them. Yeah. So you could just go Petal, bauble, cast this.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they play Caracas.
And then your opponent Caracas it. Okay, delete it. Moving on. I missed I misread it. I thought that it was like you just
you just sacrifice stuff and then it gets cheaper. But the fact that you can just sacrifice baubles and stuff, that's a lot better than I thought it was. Let's put it at that.
That's why it's in the list in the first place.
Yeah. I totally misread it. So that is a lot of mana off. So yeah, I can see this being messed around with. That's quite cool.
Yeah. It's just the problem of like, I think the reason you don't want to do stuff like Lotus Petal with it and more like Baubles is because it's such a high risk if you actually use, Lotus Petals, whereas the Baubles, they're still going to give you extra cards, and then maybe you're going to cast it again, like on the following turn.
But the fact that it really just costs Lotus Petal, Bauble, that's not very much to put into a 7/5 trample.
That's true.
Because you're drawing 2 cards off the Baubles again.
And even Oko might be too slow to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it turn 1, obviously, easily. All right, I'm on board. I like the Giant Pirate. I like it.
Moving on, there's another card that's actually a throwback to a card that used to be a thing in Legacy for a while and then kind of went away together with Garuda, right?
Yeah, well, it is Garuda we're talking about. So with the companion change, it's not really being played apart from there's like a Bomb Man deck, which is people play from time to time. But yeah, this is a quick shout out to Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. So if Garuda if they for some reason change the companion rules and Garuda can be good again, this is like an instant 4 of in the deck, I think. So it's 3 and a blue for a 3/1. It's a legendary creature, human rogue. And you may have Sakashima of 1,000 Faces enter the battlefield as a copy of another creature you control, except it has Sakashima of 1,000 Faces' other abilities. So it's a clone, but it still keeps its second ability, which is the legend rule doesn't apply to opponents you control. So the thing with Garuda previously was it's legendary, so you keep cloning it and copying it, but then you need to find the Spark Double, which can create more copies. But here with this, you can just keep cloning, and you keep every single creature that you would hit off it. So yeah, just thought it was worth a quick mention that if anyone is still trying to make Garuda work, you want to play this card.
Yeah. That's all I have to say about it.
That's it. It's a quick in and out.
I hope Garuda never comes back. I'm sorry.
Another one is I just have to shout out how cool this card is Rograk, Son of Rokga. I think I'm saying that right. Which is a Kobold. So it's a 0/0/1 with First Strike, Menace, and Trample. I just love the idea of a First Strike, Menace, Trample, 0/1. And you can play this in Cheerios. So, and Hydra Ball. Hydra Ball is like the green glimpse. It's like Cheerios, but it plays Gaia's Cradles and Crater Hoof and Summoning Pact and stuff.
You've told me about this deck before, and I still haven't heard about it ever. I'm not sure if it just only exists in London or something. It's
one of the few amazing decks where you can have one of your best hands and start going off and still fizzle 80% of the time. It's it's impressive how much it fizzles. I think I've streamed it twice and gone 2-3 and 1-4, which is pretty above average actually.
It sounds exactly a kind of deck that would want a 0/1 First Striker.
Exactly. This is where the power is going to come from. And it plays Cyborg Beastmaster Ascensions. So, yeah.
Oh, now I know which deck you talk about. I saw you stream that.
Yeah.
I think I've never saw you win with it.
No. I don't think I've won with it much either. Cool.
Okay, so that card exists.
Yep.
I think the last card that we got that will probably have a chance of seeing play in Legacy is going to be Armek's Filigree Thresher for 3 mana, so 2 colorless and a red and a black. It's a 3/2 legendary artifact creature golem, and when Armek's Filigree Thresher attacks, you may discard a card. When you do, target creature defending player controls gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts you control, plus the number of artifact cards in your graveyard. And it has partner as well.
Yeah.
It's just too much of these.
Love partner.
So this is another aggressively we can't even say aggressively costed creature, but it's every time I see just a single color, I'm almost immediately thinking Stompy deck. But
yeah,
we already talked about how black doesn't really get a lot of love for aggressive Stompy decks these days.
Well, I think this could be very good in Steel Stompy. Steel Stompy does struggle with playing good removal spells, especially against Delver and stuff. So this can very easily you do put artifacts in the graveyard. You can have Artbound Ravager to kill bigger stuff if you need to and stuff. The mana cost is not hard to get off because the deck never wants to play double color casting pips in the deck. But yeah, 2 and a black is very castable. Yeah, I could see it being if the deck is already playing Vault Scourge as it is, and then you want some black cards sometimes, I think this could be like a 2 or 3 over in the deck quite easily. You're not seeing it?
I mean, it's an artifact, so that helps it with, like, being synergies with Ravager and stuff. What I don't like about the idea is that you're still not stopping Dreaded Arcanist really, unless you like force them into an attack they don't want to make, and then you maybe get to block Arcanist with a big Ravager or something.
Well, that's only if the Arcanist comes down at the same time or before. If this is down already, then if you have the enough cards in the graveyard, you attack and kill it. Yeah,
okay, and then you can create a scenario where you don't even need to discard anything relevant because your graveyard is already going to have a couple of things, so it can...
Yeah.
It basically turns any card into your hand into a removal spell.
Kind of. Yeah, it's not insane. I think it's got potential, though.
I think we're going to leave it at potential.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
That's fair.
Another card that's gonna be probably really good, not in Legacy, but actually in Pauper, is gonna be Fall from Favor. It's a creature enchantment, or I guess we call them auras these days. It's for 2 colorless and a blue. And when it comes into play, you become the Monarch again. There's lots of kings in this format. Kings and queens. Enchant a creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step unless that player is the Monarch. So that's basically a removal spell that doesn't lock the creature down as hard as similar effects of this type would do, because, once... In a way, this actually feels a little bit like a 3-mana version of Palace Jailer.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, this is going to take Pauper by storm. It feels just so oppressively good because the blue decks are already so good there. The reason I put this on is because I think it really could... People can try it in Legacy as well. In Pauper, there's actually already a lot of Monarch cards being played, so the way you take it back from each other is just by playing cards that make you the Monarch. So yeah, it's not quite as obscenely oppressive, I think, there, because there's Thorn of the Black Rose and Palace Sentinels. That's the ones. So yeah, they do take the Monarch back off you quite often, but that's the way they beat the blue decks, I think, was by becoming the Monarch and then just keeping it. But now blue can seal it back. So yeah, rip Pauper. Nice knowing you. And yeah, I think people can try this in Legacy. It's because there's not that many other Monarch taking cards back. I know, like, if your opponent has one creature, you play it on there, and then you run away with the game very easily. The downside to this is you do need your opponent to have a creature, or yourself, which you tap it down. But
oh, that's right.
So this is the downside. I think if you could just play it out without a creature being in play, it would be better than it might even be better than the other cards we were talking about earlier, the courts.
You could just go turn 3, play this kind of version of a Planeswalker that just draws me a card every turn, and you can't do anything about it unless you maybe steal the Monarchy.
Yeah.
I think what's also problematic is that at least against Death and Taxes, right, they can just flicker with the creature because the creature's still there, unlike with Palace Jailer,
True.
where it's gone and then they get their creature back.
It's true. Yeah, at least you stay the Monarch, but yeah, actually protecting the Monarch is very hard against D&T. So yeah, it's not very good for Legacy, but I think people will try it out and see.
It's good to be aware of the card at least.
Definitely.
And there's somebody who's going to try to make it a thing. And now our last card, that was a special wish from you that we include this one, and that's going to be Merchant Raiders. It's 4 mana, 3 colorless and a blue, 2/4 human pirate.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever Merchant Raiders or another pirate enters the battlefield under your control, tap up to 1 target creature. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control Merchant Raiders. Dude, by the way, it's really about time they keyword that. Just call it freeze.
Yeah, freeze.
That
totally.
would be so flavorful.
Yeah.
Merchant Raider freezes target creature.
Oh, this makes so much sense. I never even thought of that. That's so,
something like that.
The keyword mill. Yeah. Only thing to say, Richard and Cutpurse just got stronger. And Padfoot, whatever. And Brigand, Richard and Brigand, oh my god. These cards were insane already, and now I think Popeye is just elevated to tier 0001. However high you can get. So yeah.
Talk about saving it for the next Legacy GP when none of that is actually even in sight.
I wasn't meant to say anything, I forgot.
Yeah, we're gonna play it in the next, I don't know. By the way, isn't there in December this big Legacy showcase qualifier? I hope I nailed it this time, coming up. I think there is. The thing with only 24 people.
Oh.
I'm super hyped for it, but I don't even know what it actually is.
You know what? I'm not sure.
But you once were the guy who literally fully understood how the Magic Online ecosystem worked with regards to all the different types of tournaments.
I understand how it works, but I'm just not sure when it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
it might be coming up. Yeah, I just wanted to throw this silly Popeye joke in there. It's got cool flavor text as well. It says, "Tell you what, you keep the rope." It's very, very kind of those pirates to keep the rope. But while we're on that subject of events, I want to just shout out Four Seasons people, the Italians. So Marco Mail, who streams like every single day, and True Hero, who's streaming, I think, every single day. If you're not aware of them, go check them out on Twitch. They're excellent players. They're always winning and stuff. It's pretty cool. And they're playing new decks all the time. And they're part of the Four Seasons thing. And we're going to put
the total landscaping thing?
Total landscaping? What? Oh, I get it. Yeah, I get it. No. Four Seasons is an event in Italy, and they historically
allegedly
in front of some.
Dude, there's going to be so many jokes about it next time this happens.
Oh God, yeah, it's true, isn't there? While events were happening, they did 4 per year, I believe, and they're trying to do the next one in December the 6th, I think. We'll post it in the show notes because I can't remember exactly which day it is, but I think it's December the 6th, where they're doing an online event. And the information will be in the link. But they're also doing a Legacy Unchained-esque event on the 29th of December. Again, I think this is off the top of my head. Maybe it's the 27th. I think it's the 27th. We'll post it in the show notes because I can't remember. But they're going to have a custom unbanned list. So... and people are going to be sharing things each day. So we've got Balance unbanned, we've got Yawgmoth Bargain unbanned.
Wait, sorry to stop you there. We got Balance unbanned?
Yep.
Holy okay. How does it work? Like, you got my curiosity, now you have my interest, or the other way around?
So it's going to be run on MTG Melee, which is like how Anurag's thing did it, and it's going to be played on Magic Online. And I think the buy-in is just like €10 or something. And they're unbanning about 15-ish, 20 cards, which are currently banned, and it's going to be a free-for-all.
You can play 4 Balance in that format.
You can play 4 Balance in that format.
I mean, we had Legacy Unchained with, Yawgmoth Bargain, which like wasn't anywhere near as good as people would think it was.
But Balance is pretty busted.
Balance is incredibly busted. Balance literally is going to make your opponent discard the hand on the first turn.
Yeah,
for 2 mana.
See. I mean, I've seen some of the other unbans, and there's some other pretty damn good cards on there. So I'm really, really super excited for it because I just love doing different silly things. Like, I think people need to go into it and accept that you're going to get balanced on turn 1 with no cards, and you need to accept that crazy stuff is going to happen. But it's a really, really fun experiment because, as we saw with Unchained...
Is it going to be streamed?
I hope so. I think they're going to plan to. At the very least, I'm going to play in it, and I'll probably stream it at the very, very least. It's going to be awesome, like a proper event.
You got to let me know when that happens, because I want to be part of that, because I want to put Erario into play on the first turn, and then I want to balance them, and they're going to be like, I can't do anything about this.
That is so mean. Okay. Yeah. So
I still can't believe you would unban spell. Anyway.
There is, as I said, there's a Facebook event with all the information, and again, check out Marco Mail and True Hero on Twitch. They're always streaming, and they're guys that are part of it. And join the absolute madness soon.
Before we quit, we actually have one listener question, which we forgot to actually answer while we were talking about those specific cards. From Franco Boligestern. Does it actually say Boligestern? No. This is German that was added. Gestern means yesterday. That's probably... Okay. From Franco Bolli. He's asking about Opposition Agent and Hull Breacher. You know, this is like one of those fuck, marry, kill things, except here it's main deck, sideboard. That's it. You have to put one in your main deck and the other one in your sideboard. Which one goes into main deck? I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think Opposition Agent main deck and Hull Breacher sideboard.
Yeah, same for me.
Just off the back of Agent hits more decks. Simply, I think it's pretty clear cut, and I think is a more powerful card. Hull Breacher could be a better card against some other decks, like Snow potentially, and Omnitel kind of things and stuff like that. But Opposition Agent just hits more. Yeah,
that's exactly how I would do it as well. So if you want to ask us questions like that for future episodes of the podcast, you can join our Discord community. You can join us on patreon.com/everydayjournal. And this week, no new Patreons, but lots of support in the Discord. I've actually been working to make this a lot bigger, and I think I haven't shown it to you yet, but the new logo should be out in 10 days from now, at least according to my artist. And also like the website, and there's going to be a lot of new features. I've got a couple of people, but I don't have them working on it as if I was their employee. I just like I'm cooperating with a couple of people to make something really cool work. And be tuned, be excited for this. This is going to be great. And I mean, we really couldn't do this without all the people supporting us. Like I just took some of the money from Patreon just to pay, for hosting and for some of the work that was done on that. So people, we really couldn't do it without you. So thank you to everyone who subbed to our Patreon, and especially, to our long tier supporters on the Eternal Witness tier, Valerio, Tommy Hanks, Trent Browers, Testicular, Moritz Vogel, and our Grizzle Brand tier supporters, Victor Bernatz, Baju Butt, Scott Monroe, Kudish Adistay, Jeremy Gates, and Henrik Korkutz. Seriously, thank you so much for that. Thank you for making all of what's come possible. And I think we're going to call it a day here.
Yeah, I think we got it covered.
Awesome. So submit your questions for Mark-Eric Vogt for next week about legacy, particularly miracles, but really just about anything, how one can become as good as he is. And that's going to be it from us. So we're going to be back next week. Bye-bye. See you.
Bye, everyone.